The views expressed in this interview are those of the individuals and do not reflect the official policy or position of the U.S. government, the Department of Defense, the U.S. Navy, or the Naval Postgraduate School. Welcome to the Trident Room, brewer of stout conversation, unfiltered and on tap. On today's episode, Trident Room host Karl Flynn sits down with Colonel Jason Perry.
All right, Colonel Perry, welcome back. Thanks
you.
so much for coming back again.
Yeah.
The first episode talked about quite a lot from commissioning, mentioned reading from the Cold War to ISIS, and General Baum had mentioned, and then First Lieutenant Jason Perry was there, and I thought, oh, interesting. I know a Colonel Jason Perry. I wonder if that's the same guy. So, And then briefly, not quite crossing paths, but you were the CO 4th Marines, and then I deployed to on UDP, and then you were left seat, right seat, turning over right as I was getting there. So just barely missed you in Okinawa, but now we're here. And
but you were probably there when I was the assistant division commander, right?
Oh, okay. Yes, that is correct.
So I didn't leave. I just didn't stay at 4th Marines. I went up to Courtney as the assistant division commander. Probably during your deployment, right?
Yes, sir. That's right. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
So now, what I'd like to discuss with you today is, so after coming back from Okinawa, now being the senior Marine at NPS. So we had Colonel Pugh back when he was the senior Marine on the podcast, so would love to get your perspective on being a senior Marine. So I'd like to start out by discussing, so obviously you were here as a student.
I was.
And then that opened up some opportunities for you. So what, getting orders coming to NPS again as a senior Marine, what were the thoughts going through your mind, and what were the expectations that you had coming back here?
Yeah, so I had a great experience here. And so when I was approached to come to Naval Postgraduate School, candidly, I was pretty excited about the opportunity. I wasn't really excited to be leaving the fleet.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
I was not excited to. I had a great time working with MEF, working with our joint forces out in the First Island chain, implementing new naval, Marine Corps and Navy concepts, and really seeing some wonderful things happening. And in the middle of that, having to take orders and leave Okinawa, but it was the right thing to do. The timing was good. But I was approached to come here to Naval Postgraduate School, and I thought, because I'm, let's face it, I'm kind of toward the end of my career here, and so the idea of recalling myself 23 years ago, at the beginning of my career, I had cut my teeth as a lieutenant. I was kind of on turning the corner to being, this is what I'm going to do as a career. This is how I'm going to spend my adult life, is doing this Marine Corps thing. And realizing what an impact Naval Postgraduate School had on me, knowing that so much of what the Marine Corps needs to be successful is being taught here. And to have the opportunity, to avoid going to a staff somewhere where, you could do some great things in a lot of locations, but to be able to work directly with 300 plus Marines at any given time, Marine officers and staff non-commissioned officers who come here to Naval Postgraduate School, and hopefully in some small way help set them up to be as successful as they could possibly be as they go forward and take on this force design effort, to take on whatever amphibious operations are going to look like in the future, whatever peer conflict looks like, and preparing for that. I mean, there's some real challenging, sticky strategic issues out there.
That there are.
And the pendulum swings between art and science, and defense and offense, and what has predominance. And I think here we really have a unique environment where we really strike the balance between, and I know it's a bumper sticker thing, but it's true, science, the science and the technology of waging war, being more efficient at at waging war, or more importantly, deterring war, but then also having the strategic vision and global perspective to bring the art of that into the picture. I mean, there's not a lot of places where that happens, and here it really is a unique place where you have officers, mid-career officers, early career officers, and staff NCOs who are bringing with them some head scratcher problem that they experience, just like we've all experienced, and they want to solve problems. And it's neat to be in an environment where there's a whole faculty and a staff and a student body who are all focused on within their field of study solving those problems. And I have a continued interest in it. And even though I'll here in the not too distant future, I'll make my way out. There are cohorts of officers and staff NCOs who are going to carry on doing wonderful work. And so to be a part of that, and to be able to lead in some small way and contribute to that was kind of exciting for me. So that's why I took the thought seriously about the opportunity and said yes.
A couple of questions I had with that, sir. So you'd mentioned Marine officers and staff NCOs.
Yeah.
So
we're expanding our staff NCO presence here at Naval Postgraduate School, and they just some great work.
So I was about to ask, because traditionally it's been, the Naval Postgraduate School is mainly for officers. Now there have been other branches with staff NCOs, but if my understanding serves correct, this is the staff NCOs who are here now. They are the first cohort of Marine staff NCOs. Is that correct?
No, we've had staff NCOs before, but we've expanded the number
Okay.
of staff NCOs we've brought to Naval Postgraduate School.
Okay,
so,
understood.
Yeah, it's a great program. I mean, we've got some really sharp in the Marine Corps. I think traditionally we've been so command focused, and yet we have a real need to have leaders in technical programs as well. Leaders who have strategic vision, but they also have technical expertise. Right? I'm not one of those guys. I don't belong in that. I don't belong in that crowd. I don't have that. And I look at myself and I think, having these technical experts, and as I've gotten older and more experienced as a Marine, you recognize that in these critical capabilities, you've only got a handful of people who are capable of bringing the technical expertise to the table that commanders need to be successful. And not only at warfighting, but also at making our organization better, ensuring the right people get to the right jobs, the right skill sets, and all that. Mm-hmm. That's a huge undertaking for a large organization, and it gets very complex very quickly. And so we absolutely need leaders who, one, cannot just lead by virtue of the rank on their collar or the legal authority vested in them as an officer, but we need people who can lead through by virtue of vision alone, and because sometimes when I say leader, you're leading a program that might involve multiple different organizations having to come together in a multidisciplinary approach to solve very challenging problems, and that's kind of a different kind of leadership, and in many cases more challenging than, say, commanding a battalion or a regiment or something like that, because when you're the commander of a regiment, everybody kind of knows you're the guy in charge. When you are trying to bring together groups of experts in a field, in multiple fields, to solve a single problem, that takes a different kind of person who can lay out vision, who can chart a course, and then persuade people to come on board and to move in a unified manner toward a common goal. That's leadership, right? Everybody's pulling on the same rope or multiple ropes, but at least same direction,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So you're not working against each other. And that's a lot of what our technical program leaders end up doing, and they're wicked problems. They're very challenging problems.
How true that is. Maybe just a small microcosm of what you described in terms of getting multiple disciplines and not necessarily leading a group of people, but a program. So my thesis research, I'm working on counter-swarming, and
there you go.
And so in my simple brain, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to solve all the Marine Corps problems on counter-swarming when I got here, and now I'm actually into my thesis research. I'm like, I'm going to move the needle a little bit in the right direction on counter-swarming, and I'm not going to solve all the problems, but working with I'm in the applied physics department, but I'm working with folks in the engineering who are working on machine learning and artificial intelligence, because that's going to be way better and way faster than a human.
Where else is that? Where else do you think that's happening? I don't know. I mean, that's an honest question. I don't know where else that kind of work happens. I mean, we have warfare centers and things like that, but you're also going to take that skill set and you're going to take it back to the fleet. You're going to take it back to the force, and that's powerful. You're bringing a problem with you. You're bringing practical experience. You're bringing a practical view of the problem, and then we're putting you in. We're partnering you up with a fantastic, academic curriculum and professors who are expert in that field, and then you're going to get smarter because of it. You're going to get better at organizing groups of people who all have a part to play, and then we're going to send you back out to go and do the thing, and not just study it. That's a tremendous model,
and
not easily replicated.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the academic faculty alone. I mean, the folks that I get to work with are so the first episode I recorded for the Trident podcast, I was interviewing Doctors Denning and Arquilla, who are giants in their field, and just they were very polite in the way when we were conducting the interview, and so I'd asked them a question about AI and machine learning, and I distinctly remember I asked one thing about, is one of the problems with artificial intelligence that it doesn't know what it doesn't know? And, they very politely basically said, that's the question you are asking. Here's the question you should be asking, and here's the answer to that question.
Right.
And so, 100% agree that postgraduate school is incredible in terms of just the depth of knowledge and the breadth of knowledge and all the different disciplines that it has to offer for everybody.
But at some point, that knowledge has to be transitioned into capability.
Yes.
And so I think in academia, you can ideate, you can iterate, you can develop, you can think. In the fleet, there's not a lot of opportunity to think. You're running from one event to the next and trying not to fall below the waterline. And here you have that opportunity to think, but it's also limited in that it's got to transition to capability. Otherwise, it never goes beyond the point of an idea or even a well-developed idea. It's that idea has to turn into something for it to become a capability. Otherwise, it's just education for the purpose of education. For me personally, and talking about the senior Marine position, I think. I don't think this is true across the board, but there's a little bit of maybe an idea that you come to school. While you're in school, you're in. We have this population of Marines in the Marine Corps anyway, and it may be like this for the other services. But you're in training, you're in transit. You're moving from one duty station to the other for a month or however much time it takes. You're a patient. Or you're in prison. They call it T2P2, right? Training, transit, patient, or prison. And here at Naval Postgraduate School, I don't think our scholars here fall into any of those categories. In other words, the value to the institution doesn't start when you graduate and we finally get you back to unit, whatever unit that's going to be, wherever you're going to go. You know, if we are doing things properly, the work you do, because most, in my experience anyway, and most Marines come here with a kind of a problem they kind of want to chew on, and they recognize they got to graduate, but they also have some practical problems that they'd really like to be a part of solving. I'd like to solve this. I was a logistician, and I'd really like to figure out how to better model the maintenance requirements of my vehicles. You know, something like that.
As an LAR background officer, I can
appreciate that, right? Of course.
Absolutely appreciate
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
And so you get smart people who come here and say, well, I really wrestle with this problem in the fleet. And they wanna bring those problems into academia, but and there's a need out in the fleet for people to be looking at these problems. And so I think if we change the mindset, but at least my mindset. I'm talking about myself more than anything. Where it's not once you graduate you're value added to the Marine Corps. You're not just here to be educated. You're also here to be a part of the problem solving apparatus of the service, the department, and not just the Marine Corps, but the department. Because many of our students are Marines and sailors and airmen and soldiers are all working on problems that are applicable to the joint force. I mean, you were talking about machine learning and AI and swarming. Those are, if you're in a multi-domain task force in the U.S. Army, you're dealing with that. If you're in an MLR in the Marine Corps, a Marine Logistics or a Marine Littoral Regiment, you're dealing with that. And so many of the problem sets that we're taking up have wide applicability. And so I think there's a lot of value in viewing Naval Postgraduate School as part of this, this brain trust, and using it using Naval Postgraduate School and Marines' time here as part of the problem-solving apparatus, both Title X and warfighting capability type of applications. So
I 100% agree, especially on the problem sets not being unique to the Marine Corps. And then if other services are doing research that can benefit the Marine Corps, the more power to them as well.
Take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
Take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I think the senior Marine in many ways does, is it connects those students back to organizations, sponsors within the Marine Corps or within the Joint Force that can make that research and that education more timely and relevant overall. And that's the big win, right? Is to do that.
And yeah, I 100% agree, and that goes back to your earlier point of, if you're doing the research and it doesn't go beyond just the academic research, then we miss the point. It's the actual implementation of it going back to serving the Marine Corps.
And don't get me wrong, it's still good research.
For
it's
sure,
still good
absolutely.
Because you come
Right.
out a smarter person.
Yes.
You come out having learned how to organize a problem, how to think about the variables that go into an issue, how to isolate variables and test for outcomes. I mean, the scientific method, if you will. But if that could also be applied to something that someone on the other end could actually take and start chewing on and turn into capability, boy, that's huge.
That's a big win.
That's right.
Yes, sir. So I'd like to pull on a couple different threads of things you mentioned. So talking about linking up Marine officers with whatever asset in the fleet or in the Marine Corps at large could benefit from the research. And also talking about career timing in the Marine Corps and coming to NPS.
Boy.
So
thing number one, as soon as you show up, right? Sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So historically, NPS has kind of gotten a bad rap as being bad for your career. But I think, and I'm sure you can expand upon this, but there have been a couple of changes recently, especially with General Berger, I guess then Commandant Berger now that we're here, and talent management. And one specific change she made was that Marine officers are now able to defer promotion in their career in order to not run afoul of timelines.
Right.
So,
that's right. Yeah.
So anything relating to the Marine officers who are coming here, Because I have no concern about that. I know that's in my back pocket if I absolutely need to.
Yeah, if you need the
Because my
time.
payback tour is to go back to the Naval Academy and not go straight back to the fleet. So I know that's in my back pocket, but if there's anything else, I'm sure as a senior Marine, you've dealt with career timing. Anything else that you can throw out there for Marines or prospective NPS students?
So first of all, I'd offer that every individual coming from Naval Postgraduate School is everybody's a unique case. Everybody has their situation, and so every one of those situations has to be managed. One is each of us as individuals we are our own talent manager. We're our own talent agent. And so message number one is, I think, be active at managing your own path. Promotion zones are getting shorter. I mean, I was so fortunate. I had so much time as a captain, so much time as a major to do a lot of stuff without running afoul of, I did a 3-year utilization tour at the Pentagon, and then I went to ILS, intermediate level schools, at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University. That was a full year. And then I showed up at the fleet and was able to do 2 deployments as a major in key billets. And so, but the only reason I got to do that is because I had so much time as a major. Today, I wouldn't have gotten half of that done because the zones are so short, and you just don't have as much time to do those things that you need to do anymore.
Right.
And that's the risk, that's the challenge that our students who come here are looking at. They start doing the math and realize that, wow, I could be in zone 2 years after I graduate, and if I can't get into a key billet. So talent management does, I think, put more emphasis on other tracks than a command track, and certainly tries to place more value on those people in staffs that are leading programs and doing work in either technical programs or very specific areas and on a staff where we really need that capability as well. I don't know numbers yet and how that's being implemented, right? And that's the challenge is making sure that people have options, that there's a clear path to there's a critical roadmap for each individual, and then to be able to manage the timing, because key billets are kind of a thing. Depending on what a person's goals are in the Marine Corps. So yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction. I think it is. I'd be lying if I didn't say people need to manage their careers, and it is something that you have to take a look at because you just don't have as much time as we used to get all the things that you might want to do or need to do to be competitive going forward. And that's one of the things that we do is we advocate for our Marine scholars here with the service to ensure that your assignment here is something. Look, there's opportunity and risk in everything we do. That's
certainly
everything we do. There's opportunity and risk, but let's seize the opportunities that are present by you coming here. Let's mitigate some of the risks, and then let's clearly define what your goals are. And work out critical paths, and then of course there's no promises going forward. You got to be proactive, and at the end of the day, wherever you end up, make yourself invaluable. And if you are indispensable to the institution will recognize that, and you'll have a successful career. And the other thing is, I don't know what a successful career looks like. Right. I mean, there are a lot of great officers who maybe, maybe didn't get promoted as far as they would like to have, or whatever, but who served well and would like to have gone somewhere else or a different path, but the path they did take presented so many opportunities that really resulted in just outstanding service. And so,
fair. Yeah.
Sometimes maybe the definition of what success actually looks like can change over time.
That's a very good point. Sounds like good advice, whether you're an NPS student or not. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So getting back to specifically being in the billet of the senior Marine at NPS.
Mm-hmm.
So before we started recording, I'd kind of joked around, it's not just being the RO for hundreds of fit reps. That is an important part of the job.
Yeah.
But within, like you show up to be a platoon commander or a company commander,
Mm-hmm.
you get your billet description saying this is line by line, this is what is expected of you, this is your job description.
Right.
Senior Marine at NPS, that's not a common billet. There's only one of them. So
Right.
for being the senior Marine, could you just walk us through what are your responsibilities here?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, as colonels, we get different fitness reports than you guys do. So there's no billet description, no billet accomplishments in our fit rep. So I couldn't pull out my own fit rep and tell you what it is.
Oh, duly
You
noted.
didn't know that, did you?
I did not know
All
that.
right, there you go. It's a pretty broad job.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of people who come to Naval Postgraduate School and want to visit. Right now, I'm working with a number of different organizations and we're planning senior leader visits to come out here and see Marines and talk to Marines, see the school, see what the potential capabilities are and all that. So we manage that. There's just the day-to-day quality of life issues of living in Monterey and making sure that everybody has the opportunity to run a PFT, CFT, get weighed in, do all the things that Marines need to do, make sure their families are taken care of. Sometimes we have things like person's not a right fit for a curriculum, and so we need to review and work with the graduate education monitor at Headquarters Marine Corps to make sure that, one, the curriculum matches the Marine, that the Marine, the education the Marine is getting is aligned with the needs of the Marine Corps. Right? I mean, this is all about managing the population of people who are going to go and do work for the Marine Corps in another year or 6 months from now. So that takes a little bit of work. Some of it is programs. And as an example, our PhDs. We've got technical PhD candidates here at Naval Postgraduate School. That's a fairly new program, and with any new program, it takes new policies and there are discussions about what's the best way to optimize. How do we optimize that strategic investment, right? Mm-hmm. And so I work with Headquarters Marine Corps, Manpower Management, or Education Command. There are a number of different stakeholders in all of these programs, and so being a part of that conversation is a part of this job. Recently, Naval Postgraduate School has been increasing its role in wargaming, and so we are beginning to develop a wargaming capability. And so I've been working a lot with the NPS staff and with NWSI, the Naval Warfare Studies Institute, with the mezzanine, with President Rondeau, on how to best support the naval services wargaming enterprise, and that's a new capability. So standing up new capability is challenging, but I'm excited about it. It's a growth area, and a very important one. And so that's something that outside the senior Marine job specifically that I've been able to get involved in, and I'm excited about.
That certainly sounds exciting, especially the direction that the Marine Corps is heading, being much more involved in maritime operations. Mm-hmm. If we can, presumably this is where we're heading, wargaming with the Navy and also integrating Marine capabilities into that, or maybe up-and-coming Marine capabilities, because there's still a lot of research going on.
And more importantly, allies and partners. And we've got to be better at decision making and have a better understanding of what the range of outcomes might be, especially as we require much more integration with allies and partners.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Has working with international students here been part of what you've been up to in terms of?
Yeah, some.
Okay.
Yeah, little, probably not as much as I'd like, but yes, yes, we've got a great international graduate programs office, and Dino Pick and his group over there do wonderful work. And they have been very gracious at including me as often as I can in many of their programs. Yeah.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
I was just curious. This is a bit specific. We have a international officer in our EWS seminar, and there's some international officers in some other folks' seminars I know. Is that something that you have your hand in, or is EWS its own self-contained thing?
Yeah, so I work with the College of what do they call it? The CES, the distance learning. Yeah, the distance learning folks, and they're very good. They come up here and visit us regularly. We recently expanded some of our command and staff opportunities out to other services, and that's growing also to our international service. On the international side and on the joint side, you know, we talk about interoperability. Interoperability starts in the classroom. And so the more we can, I went to a Japanese school, right?
That's right.
For top level schools. I believe that experience was invaluable. In terms of bringing, and I saw it when I was stationed in Okinawa, what opportunities were created for operational cooperation because of classroom experiences. Right? And not to get into too much detail because it just take forever to explain all of, you know, who shot John stuff. but those classroom relationships, the education, the shared understanding, interoperability starts in the classroom. And so to the extent we have Marines going to the Naval War College, we have services and international partners coming over to the Command and Staff, our Command and Staff College and EWS. And I think that is a huge strategic investment. I personally coordinate with the distance learning folks at Marine Corps University. But they really run it. Okay. A lot of our Marines teach EWS here. Our Marine scholars, Naval Postgraduate School students, and we have a really active program. So it's wonderful.
That was one thing that surprised me when I first showed up. My EWS instructor is a Marine major, and he's a student here teaching EWS and also studying as an EWS student. Yeah, right. If I'm reading between the lines correctly, am I understanding that, you know, not only when you say interoperability, that's more than making sure our radios can talk to each other and our weapon systems can interact, but I'm sure the personal connections also very much help with that.
Yeah, to me, so yes, there's two sides of interoperability. One is the technical side, is can our systems talk to each other, interoperate with each other, but then there's the side of when I need to coordinate a decision, when I need to integrate my decision-making processes with a partnered or allied force, where do I go to do that? How does that happen? What are the challenges? What are the obstacles to that decision-making? And sometimes we tend to maybe mirror image the force that we're working with. We assume things about them because they're military and they're kind of loosely organized, similar to the way we are. And there's infantry guys and there's artillery guys and there's Navy guys and gals but then when you really get down to having to you have to have unity of effort, even if you don't have unity of command. And the higher you get in an organization and the more complex the operation is, the the more challenging unity of command is to achieve. But we still need unity of effort. And unity of effort, in my opinion, is about people. That is about getting people focused on the problem set and bringing their strengths to the table, and then working together to bring those strengths to bear, those capabilities to bear. That's interoperability as well. That's a form of interoperability, I think. There's probably a more sophisticated way of describing that, but
I'm sure some Marine Corps doctrinal publication it's got it written down, but I think that made a lot of sense to me, at least. Data point of one.
It's interesting. I think there's 4 or 5 senior Marines that are still here, former senior Marines that are still here, and are just committed to the organization and what we do. And so it's a privilege. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a year. It's been a very, very quick year.
As a student, I can also say it goes by fast on my end too.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for your time. I'm glad you were able to make it for a second interview. And really appreciate it.
No, thanks for your time. Thanks for doing this. This is good. I appreciate your time, what you do as well.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for joining us in the Trident Room. For more information about today's guest and topics, please visit the show notes. The Trident Room podcast has been brought to you by the Naval Postgraduate School, Alumni Association, and Foundation. For questions, comments, and suggestions, please email us at tridentroompodcasthost@nps.edu and find us online at nps.edu/tridentroompodcast.